involved. Here's what the White House says.
I think that they should storm Capitol Hill and protest there because that is the place that has held up this discussion. Democrats are the one that shut this discussion down by forcing a government shutdown.
All right, Greg, I'll go to you first for anything you want to talk about, but I would tee up that Senator Phil Gramm, former senator, used to say, don't take a hostage you're not willing to shoot.
Oh,
that's what ended up
happening agree more.
With the Democrats. But we have another thing we need to address.
What's on my head?
Yes, what happened to you 3 minutes before we walked in here?
The door opened and hit me in the head.
It's an unsafe show, just so you know. I got a second-degree burn. You got concussed.
Are you okay?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm a little lightheaded.
You're a trooper. You're here.
Yeah, I am. It's pretty good. It was basically a 3-day weekend for the shutdown. It was like, it wasn't really a shutdown. It was like a supermarket where one aisle is closed.
Right.
And then everybody's back to business. I think the mistake that the Democrats made was taking a certain segment of greater society, i.e. what is called the dreamers, though I resent that. I think we're all dreamers, and putting them in front of a lot of people. So they put the dreamers in front of other undocumented immigrants from other countries. They put them in front of immigrants who are actually waiting in line. You're putting them in front of American citizens who are waiting for their benefits, or American citizens and the military, or even fallen heroes. So I think it was a losing argument for them to attach this to a spending bill because you're putting American citizens in the back seat.
Yeah, Juan, it's hard to vote against a bill because of something that is not in it. And I think the Republicans strategically were smart. Everything that they added to the CR were things that the Democrats liked. The funding of the government, the CHIP money for 6 years. And so it's almost harder to keep basically arguing for something that is not in there. But they did get the concession that an up or down vote will be held on DACA in the Senate by February 8th.
But it's not promised. It's just a pledge. It's kind of uncertain. What I mean by it's not a promise, it is a promise. It's not guaranteed, Dana.
Right.
So for the Democrats, when you see Chuck Schumer up there saying, hey, here's what we've done, I think from his position, we've revealed that the Republicans can be very hard on the Dreamers, and most Americans want a deal for the Dreamers. And secondly, the polls have shown that most Republicans would have been blamed. But Schumer, and I think this is particularly true for the Democratic base, caved. I mean, he basically said this could look bad for Democrats if you were to follow the kind of spin, what Greg was just saying about, it's about the military, or it's about putting the Dreamers ahead of somebody in the government or government functions for people who are getting Social Security checks or whatever. I don't know. But the problem for Schumer and the Democrats is the Dreamers, the Hispanic caucus, I think a lot of people in the base who just think, Democrats are just feckless.
Well, in a way, Jesse, I wonder about the Democrats. We talk about the Republican Civil War, but the Republicans actually were remarkably united through this period. And the headlines for Democrats, especially in those red states where they have Democratic senators that are up for re-election, it became harder for them to swallow a lot of the headlines that were coming their way. And Senator Schumer sided with them over the more progressive part of his party.
Well, Juan just said the Democrats are feckless, and Schumer caved. I think he's the one that got hit in the head.
That was a long time ago.
I completely agree with both Juan and you, Dana. Crying Chuck caved. It was the Schumer surrender. He totally miscalculated on Trump's core values. Why would Trump blink when you're prioritizing illegal aliens over the U.S. military? He walked into an ambush of his own making, and now he looks weak going forward with more negotiations. I don't think Trump comes out of this looking bad at all. He came and stood on principle and didn't blink, and now has a stronger hand going into future negotiations. And the position that Chuck has taken has evolved. At first it was, we're not going to fund the border wall at all. Then we're not going to link DACA to the border wall funding. Now border wall funding is on the table, and Trump has successfully linked wall funding to the DACA debate. Truck does not look good here at all, and the Democrats totally miscalculated the polls on the issue. Just because 70% of the American people want to protect the Dreamers doesn't mean that's the highest priority of the American public.
Right. They said the American people were saying, okay, we want to help the Dreamers, but don't shut down the government because of it. And right before this show, Kimberly, we found out that President Trump apparently is currently meeting with Senator Doug Jones, the new senator from Alabama, and Senator Manchin from West Virginia, Democrats who apparently they're talking about immigration, so maybe they're trying to figure this out.
We're putting them in the reasonable category versus Upchuck, who's probably puking right now in his private bathroom because he's not coming out of this looking good at all. And not a good move. But, you know, this is the exact thing when you deal with like a businessman who knows how to negotiate. And now you have something that's married together that is very good for the Democrats. So how could they object to it? So it was just like a strategy in terms of going forward. But ultimately, forget about the politics. This is good for the American people. And it's in keeping with what the voters, what people want. And of course, you want to be good to people. We're a nation of immigrants, okay? But there has to be some specific structure and guidelines set up. And there's no need for us to protect people who are illegal immigrants that come in here and that are criminal recidivists and commit crimes of any nature. So President Trump, this wasn't something that he was going to give up on. He was taking a stand. He also has to, politically, and because it's the right thing to do, to not back off in terms of border security and protection. That is something that was pivotal in terms of what he ran on. You have a big problem with his base if he abandoned that. So right now, it's an advantage POTUS.